say? Uh, we'll make the recording available on YouTube, both as the entire brunch and also as the standalone presentation by Jana Falk, so that people can, get the benefit of what we tried to get together and information sharing at this meeting, even if they weren't able to make it. So with no further ado, we will have time for announcements and also questions. So as you hear different reports or as Jana speaks, please make note of your questions or put them in the chat. And we should have plenty of time to address those, especially with this smaller group. So starting as we traditionally do, as the alphabet dictates, with Big Sur. Let's hear what Big Sur is up to and planning, especially as Earth Day approaches.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm glad we have rain, and we really need it here in Big Sur. I mean, it's just sprinkles right now. It's not really but we hope, we appreciate everything that we can get that's wet coming from the sky. As you know, I'm Laverne McLeod. I'm one of the co-coordinators of Big Sur Advocates for a Green Environment. And the other co-coordinator is Jessica Cunning. And we usually take turns in reporting. And one of the things we want to report is that we really appreciated Lori Evie's, invitation to have, to talk with us about our CSMC part of the website, the SAGE website, with deletions, additions, keep this, do that, should we do this, add that. And that was very helpful for us because we didn't have the time to stop and deal with that. So we really thank you, Lori. And also the discussion with HB 1383. And we're confused about that a bit. And I imagine we're not the only, area that is, but we're confused because in our personal household, we put our green can out with debris. It didn't have any of the food waste in it because we don't, because that part of it really hasn't come to fruit yet. But it was taken away. And one of our friends who's a widow had hers taken away too. And she said, I have no, and she gets people to cut things around her house. It grows up, and she said, I have no way to have a control burn, and where she lives, she cannot, in a very narrow space and because of her age. And she said that she called Waste Management, and Waste Management said that they seemed confused, yes, we took it, and are you going to do this again? And they said, they wouldn't provide that. So we don't know what's going on as far as our area is concerned, because we thought that this SB 1383 represents the whole of California, not just to exclude Big Sur. I mean, this has to be cleared up anyway. So that's something that we don't understand, why are cans being taken away, and are we really a part of it? Because, we feel like it's, Jim Laird, made sure that Jim or John, I forget his name, but anyway, Laird made sure that it would cover the whole county, the whole California. So we're part of it. And we do have critters here, yes, as residents in different municipalities or parts of Monterey have, because I've heard of them. So we hope that's not the issue, but that needs clarification. Meanwhile, Jessica Cunning has decided that she would be the representative for the waste management training for our area, so that she can be one who can tell us what to do, what not to do, where this goes, that goes, and to help educate people. And she can educate me because I don't have time to do the training. And then we can, we can do all of this. As far as Earth Day is, but she doesn't know when that's going to happen. So maybe that'll be cleared up as to when that training will happen. As far as Earth Day, we see every day as Earth Day. And we're not going to do anything on the 22nd, the actual Earth Day. We're doing it April 14th, because that's the time that our schedules can work out for everybody, including the place where we plan to have it. So Thursday, April 14th, 5 o'clock at the Big Sur Grange Hall, we're having a community meeting with potluck appetizers that people will bring, and of course their own, cutlery and dishes and non-alcoholic beverages. And the topic will be on drought, fires, water conservation. And because this is a big deal for us. This is where the climate is really, giving us a kick in the hoo-hoo, especially when we have our fires and all the pollution air pollution that's caused from all of that. And we'd like to know what else could be done, and we don't know yet because most of us live in the the urban interface of the forest. But anyway, so that is happening, and we also want to be able to sometimes include Kiss the Ground, but we're trying to find a DVD version because it's too there's not enough bandwidth to stream it at the Grange. So if anybody has access to a DVD of Kiss the Ground, please put it in the chat for me because we'd like to access that for our community as well. And that's about all that I have to report. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Laverne. I see we still have people logging on, and I think you're going to have some questions answered from our guest speaker. Let's see. Also, if you'll check the chat now, I believe that Letty Hernandez has put in their info that she does have a DVD.
Oh, thank you, Letty. Great.
Yes,
Okay.
Let's get together, meet halfway or something.
We'll do that. Yes.
Terrific.
Thank you.
It's the sort of thing that this whole brunch is designed to do, to share our resources so everybody doesn't have to invent and buy everything. So really glad that both of you were here. Let's see, now that we have more people on the call, let's go ahead and I'll use my tile to have people introduce themselves. Carol?
Okay, I'm Carol Kaplan from Sustainable Delray Oaks.
And you just met Laverne. Jeanette. Jeanette, can you unmute?
Yeah, I just unmuted. Hi, I'm Jeanette Leonidou, and I'm just joining at Lori Evie's suggestion to see what the various groups are doing. I want to get involved somehow, and I'm joining to hear what's happening around the county and see where I can help. And my son, who's 16 years old, is also interested in helping. We're mostly interested in planting trees. And so thank you for letting me join.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Robin. Robin might be away from her screen.
Yes, no, I'm here. I just had to unmute.
Okay.
Robin Lee, Sustainable Salinas, and we are planting trees in Salinas, just to let you know, Jeanette.
Catherine?
Yes, Catherine Crockett, Sustainable Seaside, and yeah, busy working on our Earth Day celebration in April. So,
And we're also planting trees in Seaside, in
planting
our
trees,
city
yes.
parks. Yeah. Karen?
Karen Anderson, representing Citizens for Sustainable Marina. They have an Oak Woodland work day this morning. I don't know how that's going.
Lori?
I'm Lori Avey with Sustainable Monterey and also the local action group coordinator. And I was going to introduce Jeanette. I mean, Jeanette sent Sustainable Monterey an email back in November. and I finally checked our email, my inbox of that email address, like in February, March, when we got together. So apologies to Jeanette. And I'm so glad that we connected and she's here.
All right, Donna.
Hi, Donna Penwell from Sustainable Seaside Steering Committee. I always get so inspired at this brunch about what everybody's doing around the county, so I wouldn't miss it.
Letty?
Leticia Hernandez with Sustainable Salinas. I manage the community garden at Natividad Creek Park. Great to see everyone.
And Tom?
Hi, I'm on the board and mainly focused on the county's new climate action plan.
Robert?
Yes, I'm finally got my audio. I have to come over the phone for some reason. My computer audio wasn't working, and I didn't have the password to get in and stuff. It took me a while. I'm here now.
Oh, well, we're glad you made it.
I'm on the board. I'm secretary on the board of directors.
Thank you. Kathy Wooten?
Good morning. I am Kathy Wooten with Sustainable Pacific Grove and happy to be here this morning.
Terrific.
Nice to see everyone.
I hope we're going to get Susan Myers in here.
Yes, I think I saw her join.
Okay.
Kathy, I am joined, but for some reason my video won't work.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine.
Well,
I can
I'm glad-
see, but you can't see me.
Well, I'm glad you can listen in anyway.
Likewise,
And
I can see everybody else's faces. So I'm sorry, you won't be able to see mine, or maybe that's a good thing.
No.
But anyway, I'm really happy to join here now.
Terrific. I'm glad you can hear it, listen in too. And then we have someone joining by phone who I can't identify because it's just a phone number.
That's Robert. It might be Robert's phone.
Oh, that's Robert's phone. Oh, thank you. Okay. And last but not least, we have Jenna Falk, who is going to be our guest presenter. Jenna, I guess you can show your face just for a moment.
But we didn't do Matt.
We will be introducing her later. Oh, Matt. Matt's moved. Okay, Matt, there you are.
Thought I was going to fly under the radar. My name is Matthew Hess. I'm the treasurer for CSMC. I'm also part of Sustainable Seaside as much as possible. I guess unofficial IT tech support in a limited capacity. So if you need help, I'll do my best, but I'm not great at it. So good morning.
We're all learning together, and we really appreciate all the help that Matt has given us to set up our tech, especially our communication within the organization on a Google Suite. And hopefully we'll get more and more of you lined up with mailboxes specifically through our .echo, CSMC.echo address, so that you can kind of corral all of your CSMC business in one place and get vital communications that will be sent out to those addresses. Okay. Well, so we've had one report from Big Sur, which we appreciate. Carmel, as I said, is now being headed and completely peopled by one person, Ellen Gannon, and she was not able to be here today. So her regrets. So we'll move on to Delray Oaks.
Okay, good morning. Delray Oaks is a little city, but we have a very active local action group. And these are some of the things that we've been involved in since December. On December 10th, TAMC conducted a site visit at our butterfly garden, and with their contractor is helping us to develop better ideas to enhance the garden as an amenity to the Fortag Trail that will be passing right by it. On December 11th, we had a butterfly garden work day, and we had a great turnout from our local residents for that. Sustainable Delray Oaks received a grant from the local Sierra Club of over $10,000 to conduct a wetlands delineation study and biological baseline report. The reports have been completed, and as of March 15th, they're online with interactive maps that are really great, showing the local habitats. We have an invasive weed eradication and beautification event planned for April 10th from 1 to 3. And with the help of Mayor Bruce Delgado of Marina, we're going to do our best to eradicate all the Scotch broom that is invading the wetland it's down there of Work Memorial Park. And we hope once that's gone to really develop this area and make it a park that will be accessible to all the community. In February, we sponsored 2 online workshops with Monterey Peninsula Water Management District and Cal-Am. The first was on weed and pest management, and we had 60 attendees at that. The second one was on deciphering irrigation controllers, and we had 31 attendees at that. Our steering committee met twice, most recently last week, and we worked on updating our website, and Lori came to that meeting and was very helpful, giving us ideas about how to do that. And we also worked on the Earth Friendly Households program. Looking ahead, so Sustainable Delray Oaks is supporting the 4-Tag Trail by working hard to prevent Measure B's restrictive trail initiative from passing in the June election. A formal campaign has begun, and we will start canvassing Delray Oaks on March 26th, starting at 9 in the morning. And this is something that really affects the entire county. So we welcome anybody from this group or anyone else you may know who would be interested in helping us on this campaign. And you can see the information on our website. And also the 4-Tag Trail pros and cons will be discussed at the next League of Women Voters meeting on April 13th at 12 noon. That'll be a virtual meeting. And our local chair and city council person, Kim Shirley, will be presenting the argument against Measure B and in support of the 4-Tag project. For Earth Day, it'll be our 4th annual celebration. It will be on Saturday, April 23rd from 10 to 1 at our Butterfly Garden. We have a number of exhibitors who are going to be bringing materials and giving presentations. There will be talks about watershed protection, about vermiculture, about SB 1383, about integrated pest management and water conservation. We also have some good events for little kids. They'll be able to plant native pollinator seeds and take them home. And let's see. Ongoing things that we're involved with. The Earth Friendly Household program. We have 30 households in Delray Oaks who have qualified as Earth Friendly households. We have worked with our city council to pass a single-use plastic ban. And finally, we have our monthly membership meetings on the 2nd Thursday of the month at 6 in the evening. They're virtual right now, and we welcome anybody who would like to come participate, give us some ideas. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And Marina, Citizens for a Sustainable Marina.
Well, that's going to be a hard act to follow.
Okay.
I submitted our activities to Robert already, but we have our ongoing Oak Woodland Community Garden project. We have been raising seedlings to replace what was graded away at the Hilltop Park area and the dunes in Marina. We're now moving seedlings out of the Return of the Natives greenhouses and uppotting. I love uppotting into bigger things, into bigger different containers. And those are all now being stored at the Oak Woodland as they get ready to eventually go in the ground. It could be a year from now. And then we've been working with Eagle Scouts. We have our 3rd Eagle Scout project underway. That's looking at creating outer rings of watering for our oak understory. So not the oaks themselves, but the plants out at the edge. Beyond the drip line or just at the drip line to encourage the oaks to grow deeper, wider roots and have nice shading, ground shading plants underneath. We have over a dozen CSUMB service learners this year. It's our first set ever. So we've been having a lot of fun keeping them busy and keeping them dry. And today is going to be a problem. Our Earth Day returns from having had 2 years as a virtual online event, which was a poster of interactive websites. And this year we'll be back in starting ramping up toward what Earth Days used to be like in Marina. We will have Earth Friendly Households table. We will have somebody from Waste Management present. We will have volunteers from Save the Whales and Blue Zones Project. We are always weeding. We are preparing a grant application right now, thanks to Kathy, diverting it our way with the AARP to add 4 more beds to our current dozen. That would be more senior accessible, as well as hardscaping to make portions of the Oak Woodlands senior accessible. And anything that makes life easier for somebody in a wheelchair makes life easier for strollers and all ages. So we get a lot of activity out there. And the city of Marina recently decided that the city's MLK Jr. bust statue, which is large format, will be installed right next to the Oak Woodland and the triangle area between the parking and the library. So we're really excited about the possibility of people who will be coming to the area because of the statue. And those are some highlights. I'm sure I forgot a few things.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Monterey, whatever of the many things you've been doing, Lori, that you want to report on.
Okay, I'll time myself 5 minutes. All right, so Monterey, as you all know, because we're such more of a tourist commercialized city compared to the rest of you, long ago we decided to put our focus on plastic pollution, since tourism is the biggest contributor to that. And over the last quarter plus, I've kind of helped Barbara Meister. She initiated this plastic pollution coalition, which included all the waste haulers, the aquarium, many of the local action group leaders from our organization and city sustainability staff, to mainly to kind of roll out plastic, single-use plastic ban ordinances across the cities and share practices. So since Barbara has been pretty involved in getting the aquarium back up and running, I've helped her host these monthly meetings. And so out of those monthly meetings came some things some things that are going on. One is the Seaside rollout of their plastic ban. And then what Jana's going to talk about, when we saw that everything's going on with the SB 1383, you go like, oh my gosh, that's totally in line with our mission. So I'm socializing a program around that with everybody. Anyway, that's the Plastic Pollution Coalition that we meet monthly. And we had 2 cleanup events with Blue Zones Project, and it's an opportunity to kind of share information on plastic pollution and waste reduction. Because we're so commercialized, our Earth Day is really Whale Fest, because that's, we put together a plastic pollution booth a few years ago, and it was great. We had to create another booth to show the solutions, and we had elementary kids teaching adults how to live without plastic, and it was really cool. So we had to miss it last year. And this year, I just don't have the volunteers and staffing to do it again. So to make a long story short, out of this Plastic Pollution Coalition, I offered our booth to Surfrider. So Surfrider, as we speak, has a whole crew of older, not elementary kids, but really energetic, enthusiastic young people hosting the our plastic pollution booth at Whale Fest as we speak. So so that was really cool. Let's see. The other thing is in Monterey, specific to Monterey, I've kind of wormed my way into being the sustainability coordinator for Al and Friends, who serves the homeless breakfast every Sunday morning down at Windows by the Bay. And I've transitioned them from disposable utensils, and I've got metal forks, and so they use those all the time. And we're working on transitioning to reusable containers and cups, so so they can be a zero waste organization. So I think that's really cool. We're also, partnering with, I wanted to make an announcement. We're partnering with community builders of, what was it, Monterey? Community builders of Monterey County, Tish Salmon. And she's asked our whole organization, as you have these volunteer activities, since April is a volunteer month, she would like to post our activities, everything that you're doing on the community builders of Monterey County. So as you go through these earth events or even past things, if you could send me some key pictures that I'll pass on to her for our organization, local action groups. I think that's it. I'll go into the more of the coordination things of the web updates and the strategic planning after our local action group updates.
All right, thanks, Lori. I'm really pleased that Lori, in her role as a coordinator of the local action groups, has really been the face to all of you. And it really appears to be starting to really move to bring everybody in the loop on what's available for resources for you. Our website project, it's huge. She's going to talk more about it later. But I just want to congratulate Lori for actually creating this job position and then doing such an excellent job with it. So thank you so much, Lori. All right, on to Pacific Grove. Kathy.
Hi, I found my camera. So in the last quarter, Pacific Grove, we connected with Everyone's Harvest to discuss signage for reducing and reusing their bags. And just as an aside, Everyone's Harvest found a new executive director. I'm not sure if everybody knew that, Hester Parker. She was formerly on the board of directors there. So we've done actually a lot of stuff this quarter, and I think everybody's getting re-energized. We've begun a series of 10 tablings at the farmers markets to work on influencing shoppers to make better choices with respect to bringing their own bags. We've completed 2 of them, and we asked them at these events which alternative they would prefer: reusing cotton bags, repurposing plastic bags, or reusing nylon mesh bags. So the survey is ongoing. We've got 8 more to go, and we will report as soon as it's done. We launched the Lovers Point Ambassador project to educate picnickers and tourists on the importance of trash disposal. We've got 3 dedicated ambassadors now. They've been trained and they take regular shifts. There's another component to this project that we're really excited about. It's the beautification, the art on the trash cans and utility boxes. So that portion of the project hasn't started yet. We're waiting on council to approve our proposal, and it is on the agenda for the April meeting for Pacific Grove Council. Let's see, what else are we doing? Oh, the Lovers Point water bottle refill station is the first of 3 that have been funded by Monterey County. Monterey County gives, and it is installed and operational. So that's huge. Caledonia and Crespi Pond installations are pending. It's gonna kind of take surprisingly a long time. So right now it's scheduled for the next fiscal year to have those 2 installed. Let's see, we've met, and this has actually been, I would encourage everybody to do this. We've met with the Pacific Grove Chamber of Commerce president, and we've also met with city council members, and it's just been so inspirational and eye-opening, and I think invaluable going forward to have a really close connection with the city council. That's something I know Denise used to do, or would highly recommend, is the in-person, and it's been wonderful. So we're continuing to do that, but we've met with several of them now, and they've all been super receptive to our aspirations and our efforts. And it's kind of been interesting because it's been I think it's going to end up being a two-way street. You know, they will reach out to us and we will reach out to them. So it's been great. Let's see. We're currently reevaluating the Earth Friendly Household program. There's been some updates to the list to reflect changes in corporate laws. And so we're working on that to just kind of update it for 2022. And once that's done, we'll share it with everyone. And finally, we had our first in-person program earlier this month, and we showed the film No Impact Man at the PG Museum. If you guys haven't seen it and have the opportunity, or you would want to do that in your own chapters, it's really inspirational, and it kind of, for me, it kind of reconnected me with all the various things that we can do to reduce our impact, just, you know, individually and as a group. So I thought it was wonderful. We didn't do any advertising, so it wasn't, you know, completely standing room only, but it was a good turnout for that. And we're looking forward to having more in-person meetings going forward. And that is it for this quarter.
Terrific. Thank you so much. And within 5 minutes. Well done. Okay, on then to Sustainable Salinas. Whoever's giving that report.
We're doing a dual report today. Letty will report on her side of the world for Sustainable Salinas, and I was going to report on what my side is doing. We're kind of co-chairing this thing. So just to start out, we just did a seed bombing event yesterday and Wednesday. So hooray for the rain.
Yeah.
So those couldn't be better timed. So I'm just kind of very gleeful at the moment. I have my door open listening to it because it's raining now.
Nope, Robin, we lost you.
Sometimes her audio goes out.
Yeah, I know.
Randomly.
On and off.
Here we go.
On and off for years. So I suggested a seed bombing to revegetate some of the native plant garden in Santa Rita Park, which is adjacent to the school. And they've been instrumental in getting that park established as well. So, and they made the seed bombs. We provided them with seeds to return the natives and some material from a company called Seed Ball that has ready-made materials to make the seed bombs. So it worked out really well, and the kids got their hands dirty and they could go out and throw down what they made. So it was fun by all. Everyone had a good time doing that. So that was 4 classes. It was like 100 students. So it went from 30 students to 100. So it was very successful. And to prepare for that, we had an event with blue zones to clear the ground so the seed bombs could take root, to clear out the invasive grasses. And we had 26 volunteers from that, and a lot of them were from our local Rancho San Juan High School. So that was really good to have that. And it was good partnering with Blue Zones. And they're asking me about being an affiliate with Blue Zones. So that's a CSMC level task. So that's something we should look at as a board if we want to do that. So the other thing, I noticed that we have owl pellets outside our owl box installed in that same playground.
Yeah.
So that was way cool to see. So that box was installed some years ago. So it was really the first time I've been able to get on school grounds to see if there's activity. So yes. And also the highway signage project, still not installed, but there's a new project manager. The old guy went off to join the Navy at 38 years old. So good luck to him. So hopefully the new project manager has his act together and we'll get this installed. So that's about it, I imagine. So Letty, you want to talk about that and Ciclovia and all that?
Yeah. So I manage the community garden at Natividad Creek Park, as well as volunteer and support with Sustainable Salinas. just wanted to let everybody know that our check came in from Monterey County Gives, and the final total was $23,922.45. So thank you everyone with your support and rallying and all the lovely help, because last year was tough, and I'm so appreciative how successful we were. There were some other organizations that didn't have quite the success as we did, so I'm very surprised with the turnout. In regards to that, the community garden, we are building curriculum right now and working with organizations like Shinampa Bio, which is a very young nonprofit here in Salinas, and unfortunately is seeing some rocky times right now. But through them, we have started collaborating on curriculum around a summer camp this summer called Bio Jam, and we just had a meeting in the garden last Saturday, and that's with Stanford University. And so we're actually bringing Stanford PhD grads and candidates to help us on this free camp, teaching kids about biology and how to make materials out of the things that we grow, about circular design, about indigenous wisdoms and how we grow things and utilize land and space, and how we nurture the earth. So it's just really beautiful. And then it also goes into the lab. And so this is part of a programming called Farm to Lab Table that we're really trying to push out. And so, you know, getting students onto the land and finding a connection with our food, with what we're growing in the garden, and then also going to look at it under microscopes, going to manipulate the growth patterns in a laboratory setting. And so it's really, really fun. So that's one thing. We will also be using that funding for a part-time garden coordinator. And I have been looking and I found somebody who does permaculture, a young gentleman. He rides his bike everywhere super sustainably. And so fingers crossed, we'll see if that works out. And then our summer internship program, we will be opening it up to not just students in the program that I run with the Center for Land-Based Learning. We are hoping to give it to students also in the BioJam camp, at least one, and then another one potentially for a CSUMB student, because that is something that has been asked for. And then we also have 2 service learners that are just starting to get into the mix of things with CSUMB. I just met with them a couple weeks ago, and yeah, our season is just really kicking up. And then in regards to Blue Zones, we also work very closely with those folks. And we, like Robin said, they're really starting to ask about getting CSMC certified as a Blue Zones certified organization, which is becoming very popular in the community. I know a ton of schools are doing it. Several restaurants are getting certified. And so it would be kind of awesome for us to get certified as well. But with them, what we do is they're supporting on our Prescribe the Garden program, connecting us with doctors and medical providers to refer families, youth and families that are maybe struggling with mental health issues or struggling with diabetes or pre-diabetic. We have a very high rate of diabetes and pre-diabetes in our community, and it's not often talked about or supported by communities. And so this is kind of our push to do something in that realm of things. So that's kicking off, and through Blue Zones as well. We are working to build a community garden directory and garden network. And I know we've reached out to several folks in the CSMC network that do have like the butterfly garden. We're working with oh my goodness, I forget the name of the garden, the newer one, Havana Solis. And you know, we just have this really large directory of gardens in Monterey County. Surprisingly, it's like over a dozen. And so really trying to bring folks together has been something that we've always wanted to do for a very long time, but Blue Zones is really leading that effort, and it's really taking a lot of the capacity off of our, off of us as volunteers. So that's exciting. And it's looking to be like, that's going to be a good opportunity to share knowledge specifically around community gardens. I know I sent a huge like text blast about this soil regeneration webinar series that just happened this last week. So good. I actually met a famous documentarian. It was great. So if you guys missed that, look it up and definitely be there next year. So soil regeneration is something like Kiss the Ground, that documentary, where it's talking about how agriculture can be the solution to some of our carbon problems, right? And I'm really starting to take a deep dive in all of that, like learning the carbon cycle, learning the nitrogen cycle, learning all these different cycles, and just getting excited about what that looks like and how that could look in our community as, you know, the number one, well, not number one. I like to say number one, but that's pretty biased, but the top producer of food in our valley. So yeah, I think that covers a lot of what's going on. Earth Day, we like to jump on the bandwagon with Return of the Natives because they do a great cleanup over here. So we will definitely be working with them. I haven't seen a date go out, so I'm going to reach out to Robin Lee soon. Yeah, April, I mean, Earth Day is our birthday at the garden, so we'll be 6 years old, and we'll probably plant another tree.
I also like to say that our tree program is very active. We put out 32 trees, free trees to people in the neighborhood now, and we have about 100 more to go. And this is in partnership with Bouquet Nurseries. So we hope to table at Ciclavia tomorrow to get more people on the east side of town to sign up for trees. So that we're trying to get a push out for that.
Terrific. Terrific. Thank you. Thank you both. Salinas is, of course, a huge population center of the whole county. And it just really pleases me a lot that there is so much going on.
Kathy, I also like to put out a call for people to get involved in their general plan updates. Salinas is doing theirs now. I think Seaside has theirs going. Marina, I think, is going to start. If you can get active in that, you can drive the plan towards sustainability and yeah, with a regenerative thoughts in mind. Because I'm involved in the one at Salinas. I am pushing very hard for all 7+ elements in the plan to be to take consideration of greenhouse gases and how they contribute and what they can be done through that particular element, whether it's transportation, building, safety, noise, or whatever, how it all can contribute to a reduction of greenhouse gas and mitigate. So they probably don't like me so much right now because every time I open my mouth, I'm talking about, let's reduce greenhouse gases and we can do this. So if you can get involved, if anybody wants to jump into Salinas, you can look at Vision Salinas and they list the workshops coming up. So I encourage everyone to get involved because it's a great opportunity to make sure that the climate action plan that's required doesn't just sit on the shelf, that it really is a living plan and it's woven all through their general plan. So anyway, I want to put my 2 cents out there for that.
Thanks, Robin. Yeah, I know City of Seaside actually has reached out to me, and I don't know if by extension the entire of Sustainable Seaside, to participate in the general plan review for Seaside. So I definitely plan to be in there, and I imagine Catherine will too. So speaking of Catherine, you want to give the report from Seaside? Oh, you muted, Andrea.
Okay, I think I'm good now. All right, in January, we held our 2022 Planning and Goal Setting Workshop on Zoom. We used the results of an online survey to develop our goals, and our top priorities for the year include advocating for sustainable land use policies, enhancing and cleaning up our neighborhood parks, educating the public on new guidelines for recycling and composting, including the new SB 1383 composting program, and promoting Seaside's Bee City Pollinator Protection Project. And we do this in partnership with Friends of Seaside Parks Association, also known as FOSPA. And so we've been continue working on Saturdays with FOSPA in their Saturday Park Cleanup series. And And we were successful in helping organize a new neighborhood group to join FOSPA and assume stewardship of Lincoln Cunningham Park. We did that as part of our big idea. That was a 2-year project focusing on pollinator protection. So we were invited for the 6th year to participate in the International School of Monterey's Community Partner Service Program. Donna Penwell, who's here, and Kathy recruited 2 8th graders who had an interest in helping with our Best Bee City Pollinator Project, protection project. And under Donna's guidance, they come to the Saturday Park cleanup events and help mulch, tend the pollinator gardens, and whatever Donna has in mind for them to do that day. So in February, we kicked off our planning meeting for our annual Earth Day event. This will be the 11th annual celebration. And it's April 30th from 1 to 4 p.m. For the 3rd year, the city of Seaside has agreed to co-sponsor, waive the special event fees, and allow us to hold it on the City Hall lawn. And Council member Dave Pacheco, who turns out for these weekly park cleanups, routinely actually approached me asking me who was going to MC. So he ended up being the MC. He's really enthusiastic about that. So Ecology Action and Central Coast Community Energy are joining us, and they're organizing an electric vehicle ride, drive, and display fair on the adjacent parking lot at City Hall. They'll have EV cars and e-motor bicycles on display, and a resource booth to answer questions about purchase incentives and how to make them more affordable. And Palenque Arts Youth Ensemble will perform. We'll have a trash and refashion show this year. Kathy and Tom will be selling tomato starts again as a fundraiser. It's an ever popular event, and I think it's a big draw. People return year after year. And we're also promoting a FOSPA park cleanup the same morning of our Earth Day event. The city has completed some major improvements at the park, and there'll be a rededication and ribbon cutting. And hopefully folks will then just come over to our Earth Day event. So we want to make it a zero waste event and make sure that all the hosting info booths are complying with the new plastic pollution ordinance, and Seaside's Environmental Commission will be on hand to help educate visitors on the new regulations as well. So, okay, we would invite you all to come out on April 30th. That's a Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. at City Hall lawn.
All right.
Thanks.
Can I add something to Seaside's? Seaside, also congratulations on your passing the ordinance against single-use plastic bans effective March 1st. Yeah. And, Lacey, we've got a bunch of CSUMB service learners that are going to be doing the outreach. And I don't know if all of you know, but in addition to the single-use plastic ban, which is just like Monterey's, they also are banning balloons for promoting businesses or events. And they're requiring every business to clean up their adjacent parking lot and sidewalks after every business shift. So it's daily. Wow. And so there's an outreach that will go around to the businesses, telling them, in fact, there's cleanup events planned on the streets of these businesses by Seaside, a Seaside Height organization. So when they go out, they say, hey, this is how we're going to clean it up. It's like your teenager, cleaning up their room looks like this. So now do it like this all the time. So, so they've got that going on. And then also along those lines, one thing that's really difficult is to, once these ordinances are in place, you have to make sure that they follow them, so restaurants. So last night I just delivered a bunch of little cards for the surf rider to pass out to the volunteers, so that if you see something, say something, because in Monterey and Seaside, because I can't be the only one reporting, non-compliance. And so I'm really excited about that. I call them like a little Eyes for Otters program, so that we can, once you pass the ordinance, it sticks and it stays like that. So thank you, Seaside. We're Monterey and Seaside on single-use plastics. So I just wanted to add that.
Oh, terrific.
Thank you for all your work in helping us get our ordinance implemented. I know you working on other communities, and we use them as a starting point. So thank you for all your work there.
And I have to give a shout out to the Seaside Environmental Commission, who actually was responsible for authoring with staff the actual ordinance. And it was a tortuous, painful policy process, as anybody's been involved in trying to publish an ordinance would know, and then to get it past the council. So I think end to end, it was 2.5 years. So now, yeah, we're rolling up our sleeves to make sure that it actually gets complied with in the most positive way. So I'm very pleased with the consultants who are leading the group of people who are pushing out information and education to our businesses and to the public so that we really can make this work. Anybody who's done cleanups, especially around a commercial business, a food business, the amount of trash that comes from single-use plastic for taking out food is enormous. And I think it'll be a really education experience for restaurants to see from their own parking lot how much of that single-use plastic never even makes it out of the parking lot. It ends up under cars and in the shrubs and in the gutter, all around their facilities. So I'm really excited about this program, the cooperation of Seaside High School, Ocean Defenders. It's going to be a win-win-win educational and functional experience for everybody. So thanks to all involved, Lori, for a lot of your leadership and energy. All right, well, that takes us around the block. If anybody has a question from any of these reports that you think get answered quickly right here, go ahead and raise your hand, either with the raise hand function or in your tile so that we can see it. Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, and on the subject of plastic pollution, I just read about 2 companies that have gone public. Each company has raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're building factories to recycle plastic. So the plastic manufacturers are not involved, and they're the ones who should be doing this, but I find it very exciting that private industry sees this as a business opportunity and money is being put behind it. A significant technology is involved in recycling this plastic, and major companies are involved. In fact, Procter & Gamble invented a technique to recycle plastic, and they've helped fund one of these companies along with other venture capitalists. But yeah, I think the tide is turning here on plastic pollution, and private industry is going to get very involved. So I thought I would just pass that along.
Well, again, as somebody who's picked up 1 million pieces of plastic or close to it in years worth of trash cleanup events, until we really get to the source of the problem, which is the production of the plastic, or in this case, maybe the reproduction of it rather than making new plastic, we're just going to be in this endless cycle of having waste with no place to put it. So that is really encouraging news. That's the kind of macro level that the change we're doing on the ground, hopefully, is going to force. So we've gotten somebody's attention. Somebody thinks there's money to be made. And in our system, that's everything. All right. Well,
I have a quick question.
Yes, a question, Jeanette.
So what is the soil regeneration? I didn't quite get what that is. Is that a documentary? Was that because I'm really interested in that. I think that's an important place to put effort and attention. I didn't quite catch what that is.
It was a summit actually that happened this past week. And I think everything should be all online, even all the recordings. The Soil Food Web was the one who put it on. Yeah. Great discussions. I'm not sure if the live events are on there, but a lot of it was done just like, and it was like pre-recorded stuff. So you can definitely find all that information at the Soil. I think I might be saying it wrong, but I'll put the link in the chat for you.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, I think I've got the link someplace. You're going to put it in there?
And I'm wondering too, if some of these things should be put on I guess they're teacher resources, more like learning resources, but something to think about, how to share learning resources across.
Right. Right. And yeah, and as Lori talks about the new website, I'm trying to bring a vision into reality of using the website also as an internal communication tool, so that it's more than just every quarter that we are talking to each other and informing each other on what we're doing or what we have done, including these brunches, that there's some place that, oops, I missed it, and you don't want to have to exchange 6 different emails to gather that information. You can go to our website, find the recording of the brunch, or find the recording of the chat that had all the links. And then if things are going to happen, that we have a master calendar of upcoming events that you can check in with yourself on a regular basis, as well as the public, to see what CSMC is planning to do, what external things like this summit would be of interest to our membership. And it'll be there on the calendar. It's coming up next week. Here's how to register, that sort of thing. So we have high hopes to expand the power of our quarterly brunches into something that's kind of a resource go-to for all of us all of the time, 24/7. All right, I'm gonna give you all a chance to check out and use the restroom or get another cup of coffee. We'll let Jana Falk, our guest speaker, get organized to give her talk. So let's take a couple more minutes if anybody else has any other questions, and then I'll have Lori introduce her.
I'd like to give a brief definition of what regenerative soils means, because we're also doing that through the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. I asked for a program on how farmers in Salinas Valley could use this to help with our water issues and sequester carbon. So regenerative soils is farmers building living soil. So you're farming soil to make it a living organism to enhance the quality of your crop. Most farmers here who farm conventionally are farming dirt, and there's no living organisms or very little to help the crops grow, and they're forcing the growth of the crop through fertilizer. But if you ask the crop to grow through photosynthesis, then it's a much healthier crop, and it also feedback loop into a healthy soil, which has a fantastic biome. I mean, it's full of bacteria and fungi and things I don't know the name of. It's a huge living organism. And so regenerative farming, or the concept, is to build up that living organism. So you have so you won't have to use fertilizers, herbicides, or pesticides. So the farmers call that their chemical application, and they can literally save hundreds of thousands of dollars per farm if they went toward regenerative soil. It's a step beyond organic, really.
And not to mention having,
in a nutshell,
studied some of these subjects somewhat extensively back in the day as a student, the leaching of these chemicals that have been applied for decades onto California soils is now finding its way into our drinking water.
Yeah.
So whether people are drinking from wells or whether, like ourselves, we're drawing from aquifers, we are selling our own water, which we use to sustain life. So we can't change fast enough, and we need to, more than just be sustainable, we need to regenerate. And I'm hoping that our new mission statement is going to reflect this, but more on that later. Okay, Lori, if you would introduce our speaker, because I know she
I didn't know I was going to introduce you. But...
other obligations.
Okay. Jana, I met Jana in our Plastic Pollution Coalition, and for the last, I guess, year and a half or so. And she was the first one who presented the SB 1383 and the rollout using the methodology of community-based social marketing. And so she's agreed to come and tell us about the whole SB 1383 from Salinas Valley Recycle's perspective, and also kind of show us, how she's applying that methodology to that rollout. Jana.
Okay, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Is there a weird black box on it moving around at all? Okay.
That's good.
Okay, perfect. I can actually see you. How lovely. All right. Well, thank you, Lori, and thanks for having me here. I'm so excited about all this regenerative soil talk and discussion of organics and all of this, because that's what we've been talking about now for days. So let me kind of roll through this. I can't see my notes, so I'm going to just kind of be going off the cuff, and I can't see everyone. So if there's anything that comes up as I talk, feel free to ask or put it in the chat, and we can talk about it when I get to the end. So I'm Jana Falk, recycling coordinator for Salinas Valley Recycles. So Salinas Valley Recycles covers the area that's the tan portion of this map. We have a transfer station in the city of Salinas and a transfer station in Halone Road, and all of the waste in this area goes up to the Johnson Canyon landfill. We also have 3 closed landfills, 2 in North County and 1 in King City. So the 270,000 people that live in this area, all of the waste from there goes to the Johnson Canyon landfill. All of the other portion of the map that's on the white, that all goes to the landfill in Marina, and that's also shared with many outside contracts. So they have a lot of waste coming in from Silicon Valley, and now, if it got approved yesterday, waste that was previously going to San Benito. But we do not take any outside waste on a regular basis, nor have that material shared. So when we throw something away, where does it go? Well, this is away. We have over 462 million pounds of garbage is buried at our landfill every year. And that we estimate is roughly 5 pounds of garbage per person per day, if we allocate that, which is about throwing a backpack away a day. So that's a lot of waste. And granted, it's not all generated in your homes. This is commercial material as well. But once we even it out, it goes to everybody. This is what a landfill looks like at the very beginning. Here you can see this landfill cell is almost done. There's a pile of C&D material at the top. This is our newest landfill that was built in 2019 and now has several feet of fill on it. But when it's done, it'll have 200 feet of garbage, or roughly 20 school buses full. Our landfill cells here last about 6 to 7 years, depending on how fast we fill them and how well we can compact it. The Marina landfill at Monterey Regional Waste Management District, they're filling about the same amount of volume every 2 years. So you can just think about the difference in volume coming to the 2 facilities. So we knew that a lot of the material going into our landfill was organic waste, and we get a lot of that as packaged material because we are the salad bowl of the world. Unfortunately, all that beautiful lettuce and other vegetables we grow here don't all make it to market. And so we invested through a grant from Cal Recycle in a depackaging machine, so it can take this material, pull out the organics, and then the waste plastic can go out and into landfill, but the organics can be composted. This is a picture of the mixer that once the lovely green salsa that kind of comes out, we call it our salsa verde, gets mixed with some overs, some wood chips and fines, and then composted. So material goes in packaged, comes out as green salsa, and empty packaging material that goes to landfill. Unfortunately, it's just not clean enough, and it's too many mixed materials to be recycled. So with that grant, we also installed an aerated static pile composting system. So these big tubes blow air into these lines, and they are filled. This is at the beginning. This is all covered now with compost, but there's windrow compost styles on a low air pad and a high air pad, so that they get different treatments over the time. But this really helps break down the compost faster, and it's giving us the ability to do a better job with food composting, because we hadn't been accepting post-consumer food scraps. So we have all this lettuce and all of this going in, but we didn't have the ability to take, plate scrapings. So now that's all changed, and this is one of the reasons we've been working on this composting for so long. This is the chart of extreme temperatures throughout time, over all the recorded temperatures, and this is our average global temperature over time. So as you can see, things just keep getting hotter and it doesn't appear to change, which we all unfortunately know in this group. But one of the main contributors is methane. There's been a lot of laws that have focused on the carbon output, but methane is actually 84 times higher greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide because it traps heat that much better, even though it's a short-lived climate pollutant. So the state said, let's try to target these short-lived climate pollutants, and they created SB 1383, which went into effect this January. The goals of 1383 are to reduce the levels of organic waste going into landfill from the 2014 baseline by 75% by 2025. That's coming up very fast, so we have a lot of work to do to get to that. And then additionally, they wanted to take all of the potentially edible food out of the landfill. They don't want that edible food going there. We want to feed people first. So what is organic waste? Organic waste is food scraps, green waste, so anything from your garden, leaves, grasses, and then any clean wood, lumber, pallets, etc. It can have some wood, some nails and staples and all of that can get pulled out, but the wood does get recycled, and we don't want that going into the landfill because, as I mentioned earlier, methane is a big proponent, and methane is created when these organic wastes decompose in a landfill, so in an anaerobic environment, whereas in an aerobic environment, so something with air, like our aerated stack piles, it does not give off the volume of methane. So why are they focusing on organic waste? Well, one of the reasons is that there's a lot of food that California and the world throws away every year. And 1 in 8 Californians are food insecure and 1 in 5 are children. But this was data from prior to COVID. And I believe it's 1 in 3, if not 1 in 4, 1 in 3 children now in Monterey County are food insecure. So we really want to make sure that the food gets to people that can eat it and not just throw it away. So Salinas Valley Recycles has been working on this for quite a long time. It's been at least 5 years in the making of forecasting this composting process, working with the organics collections and getting all the pieces in place to be able to pick up organics, and then also food rescue and donation. We've purchased 2 food trucks for Monterey County Food Bank and are working as a county-wide entity for the SB 1383 Food Recovery Technical Advisory Committee, trying to figure out a full plan going forward. Part of 1383 requires jurisdictions to increase food recovery. And so we're doing that as a joint because food insecurity doesn't know jurisdictional boundaries. So there's no point in doing that just for the city of Salinas because we know that it's, we want to work together and make it the best we can do. So when I'm talking about edible food, I'm not talking about food that's been on a buffet line. I'm not talking about something that is food scraps on a plate. We're talking about whole good edible food that could be given to somebody else to consume, not something that we're thinking about as gross. All of the gross stuff comes to be composted. We want to get all the edible, all the packaged, clean, healthy food to people to eat it. And so in this first year, the biggest generators, so the grocery stores and the food distributors and wholesale vendors, so all of the large facilities need to ensure that they have a food recovery plan in place so that they have a contract with a food recovery entity and that they're not intentionally destroying any food that could be eaten. And then in 2024, the biggest change is that the large restaurants and all of the schools and big hotels will also be required to donate their edible food. So we're working on that. So as I mentioned, we have a food recovery TAC and we have a plan now drafted by Blue Strike Environmental is the consultant we've been working with, and we are putting the pieces in place. We'll hear in the next few weeks if we got the large grant from Cal Recycle to do some of this work and hopefully actually put that plan into action. So what does organics waste look like in a business? There's all kinds of things happening, but typically a lot of the vendors that you'll see have a yellow cart right now. So Green Waste started with yellow carts, soda waste management for the business organics collection. So that's all the food waste goes into the bin and gets recycled. So now we have a full 3-stream system with food scraps and yard waste going into one, your bottles and cans and paper and glass going into recycling, empty, clean, and dry, and then everything else goes in the waste. So now that we're taking food scraps to the curb, we have a big problem with contamination, and we knew that going in because our yard waste carts, the ones that don't have any food scraps already, come in looking a lot like garbage from some areas, unfortunately. But when we are adding in food scraps, we know that that's going to be even more of a concern. So the pile that you see here, all of those little bits of plastic actually are bioplastics. Maybe not all, there's probably a good portion of plastic in it as well. But that's been curing and breaking down for 6 months, which is longer than those materials say they take to break down. And what will end up happening is all those bits get cleaned out and sent to the landfill. So we have decided we're not taking any of the bioplastics or any of the fiber type clamshell containers for 2 reasons. One, they don't break down all the way and they end up looking like garbage. And 2, a lot of them have chemicals like PFAS, which you may have heard about, which is basically like a Teflon coating, so that that fiber container doesn't soak in all of the good spaghetti or whatever you put in it. And when it goes through the compost, those chemicals stay in it and never go away. And the farmers don't want any of that in their product. But they also don't want to put anything that looks like plastic, even if it's a, quote unquote, natural or biodegradable or earth-friendly plastic. They're still not going to purchase compost that has plastic in it. So we didn't want to this isn't just a new program. We want to actually effectively change behavior. So that's taking psychology, social marketing, and turning that into behavior change through a process called community-based social marketing. So we took a big chunk of money and had a plan created for us for community-based social marketing, which included a literature review of all the other studies that have been done, mailing surveys, in-depth interviews, and then benefit barrier research, and now pilot testing to how do we effectively change behavior of people in their homes. So right now, we're still in the middle of testing. They did bin flips or checking bins in the study area in Soledad this week, and next week will be our last testing. All of the residents in the entire area, as you've probably heard by now, can start utilizing the program. We have pails available, but our real outreach starts next month. We're technically launching this on Earth Day. And we wanted this beginning few months to kind of hone in on our message. So we have a new website and all kinds of information on our website with food collection at home. The district also has a link for this on their site with a slightly different information, just in terms of where you can pick up a pail. But really, we worked really closely together to make sure our acceptance list is the same and we're trying to get the same messages out. So we're across the line saying no bags. If you are a residential curbside cart user, so if you have a green cart that you'll put all of your food scraps and yard waste in, you won't use any bags, biodegradable or not. If it grows, it goes is our big tagline for Salinas, and we have our new billboard up in Soledad. So as you're driving down Highway 101, you'll get to see that we love our pink donut up there. So go check it out. And then soon you'll start seeing, we'll have print ads going out in some things and electronic ads, and we'll try to get this kind of all over the place, getting people in the know about what they need to do. And all of this messaging was honed in from that community-based social marketing, where it was like 78% of our surveyed residents feel that helping the climate change is important. And so honing in on that message and honing in on why, we're using them to reduce landfill waste and make compost. We're actually creating something new from this. It's not just something to do. So we took their creation of they're on our website right now. There's a double-sided page in English and Spanish that has all this information, and we're going to be getting this trifold printed soon, so that at events and things we will have a handout for those that don't want to utilize the QR code and go to the website, because we know that there's certainly a certain population that would like to continue to have something in hand, and so this is a bilingual message to send out. If you would like to come to our compost, our last one, we think at Hardin El Sol, March 26th, so next weekend, come out and see the team. I don't exactly remember what the kids' art activity is, but it'll be something fun. And those that come can get a backyard compost bin, or out of worm bins right now. But if you want to have your own worm bin, we're happy to get you set up with worms. And then the other thing is that Sun Street Station is closing, and the household hazardous waste facility and recycling services will be moving to Republic Services. The city of Salinas has long wanted Sun Street to close, and we've worked for the last 20 years on trying to decide a plan to move. And this is the plan that finally got decided by city of Salinas. So come out to Sun Street before we close, and after we close, we still will be available for all of our outreach services, and then free recycling services, and the HHW will be at Madison Lane. But if you want to pay our gate rates, you got to drive down to Gonzales. So the Republic Services will be setting the rates for the gate there, and it's looking like it's going to be a significant increase to customers. So just know that if you're coming to dispose of at Madison Lane. Hopefully you're all aware of what goes where. It's the best resource for finding out where to put what. And now we have a new employee who's been keeping up with that. So if you do find errors, please let us know. We tried to go in and edit all the food scrap information. There's a lot there. So we're still working on it. So, you guys are all working on changing the world. So thank you for that. And here I am for questions. So, and I do have some slides with like HHW and other things. So I didn't know if there was any other bigger questions about what we're doing. So, Karen.
Hey, Janet. I moved down here from a Republic Services area in the East Bay of the Bay, San Francisco. And one of the big surprises for me was that I could no longer put like a soiled paper towel would be my most frequent one when the dog and the cat have accidents in my green soiled paper product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so we decided to, as we're opening up this program to residential, once we open it up, there's never going back. And so unfortunately, what we all know about wish cycling and putting things in the recycling cart, then have a long road to the landfill. The same thing happens with compost. So if we put in a lot of things that can't be composted or are not great for the compost, then it'll mostly get pulled out at the beginning, and that's just cause more cost to compost, because compost is certainly not free. So the reason we decided not to go with the food soiled paper products is mostly because of the PFAS problem. So the PFAS is that Teflon type material, and there is a lot, it's everywhere. Now there's a lot of laws for landfills, and landfills needing to manage PFAS and making sure nothing's coming out of the leachate. We have all these very sophisticated leachate collection systems and testing of that, but unfortunately, not everyone in the state has the same system, and not all landfills have the same product. And we anticipate that is going to move forward into requiring that compost also doesn't have PFAS, because that then just gets applied right to the ground outside. So when we talk about paper, there's a big line of paper, and we don't know compostable and biodegradable are two very different things, and not everybody knows the difference. So we're just going to limit it, make sure that we can control what we're getting. Also, one of the concerns here is that we still haven't quite gotten row crop farmers to be interested in regenerative soil because of food and safety concerns. It's one thing when you're talking about orchards and vineyards and things that are going to either grow in from a tree and be off the ground, or are going to be cooked and boiled. Or that's why we get to use the purple water pipe for all the artichokes, but nobody's growing spinach from recycled water. And so there's the difference there. And so some areas compost everything, but they sell it to a very different market. And we're trying to hone in on what this market is going to be. Part of the law, I didn't really cover, requires each city in the state to buy back a large portion of this compost. And so we want to make sure what we're providing is something that's going to be utilized. Otherwise, we're going to have parks covered with 3 feet of compost because they're not going to have anywhere else to put it. And we want to make sure it's the most beneficial use. So long story short, we're starting as focused as possible. And if we get different processes or we figure out ways to do things better, then we can start adding to the program, but we don't want to open up the floodgates. Make sense?
Follow about, it was a surprise to me that I could put a pizza box, for instance, in the blue bin.
Well, and that's very interesting because if you live in the city of Monterey, your recycling goes to Monterey Disposal. If you live in any of the other peninsula towns and you have green waste disposal, it does go to Marina. So the Monterey Regional Waste Management Districts, MRF, they have found that they have enough of a buyer for cardboard that does have grease and food on it, whereas Monterey Disposal does not find that valuable at all and doesn't want it. So in the city of Monterey, no greasy cardboard. In Marina, it's okay, we think. I don't know. Yeah, constant confusion. And for those of you with green waste, maybe they have also decided that they are no longer going to be accepting gable top cartons, which are the cardboard milk cartons. So those are no longer a recyclable product. Yep. Wow. So
Okay.
Laverne, you had a question?
Yeah, Laverne.
Okay, yes. Well, first of all, Janet, you gave a thorough in your report on what you're doing, and it was so clear. But I have 3 questions, and I'm just going to repeat them now so that they can hopefully be answered. Well, one is a comment, one is a compliment, what I just said. The other one is when you talked about food insecurity for kids in Monterey County, it's like, ugh, it grabs me in my gut when you think of somebody in a county like Monterey, not having enough food, particularly children. And so you're talking about programs to be in place to get, edible foods to, I don't know where it would go to, organizations or whatever, so it won't get thrown away and it goes to these people. Is this something that's in place now? Or is it something that will be in place? That's one thing. And I have 2 other questions.
Okay, say them all and then
Okay.
I'll go.
Okay. And the other one is, the other 2 are the ones that I mentioned when I gave my report. I was so rapidly thinking about that. I went right into the report. So I apologize for doing that. However, that is not what the question is Big, and I don't know if you can answer this since you work with Salinas.
Yeah, I can touch on that.
But I want to know if Big Sur is inclusive. And I want to know if there will be a waste management training that, we can be involved in. So those are 3 things.
So first on the food recovery, there are so many programs happening simultaneously, and the majority of it is based on the Food Bank Monterey County. They do amazing work, have great outreach, do a lot of connecting. However, unfortunately, there's some interpersonal things, and we're working on building our relationships to be better partners. How would I put it that way? So we see that there's a need to connect more and get out there. The bigger problem is if one restaurant has 1 or 2 lasagna pans, the food bank isn't necessarily the best place to pick up that food and get it back out into the community because they're doing large scale distribution. So the biggest point of our action plan is to figure out how do we get these new generators that are now required to donate food, how to connect them with people that need food or connect them with people that know the people that need food. So we're working on building that. Right now, a lot of the things that have happened in schools over time has been government required programs. So they have all these free food programs or, eating, the kids all have to take one of, 3 different things. They have to take a certain amount, but then they were also told the kids couldn't take it outside the cafeteria. So if the kids didn't eat in the little time they had, then all that food was going to waste. So just recently, like right before COVID, the state approved a traveling apple policy where kids could take an apple and a granola bar home with them or out to recess or something. So they could take a little bit of food home. So we have a little bit of sharing happening, but now we're trying to expand on that. So at the end of lunch, when there is food left over, how do we pick up, however many milks didn't get used before, the expiration date, which is a use by date, or how do we get a pile of apples and bananas or Uncrustables or whatever the delicious food of the day was out to people who need it. So we're looking at ways to connect people. The problem is the way the regulations are, the government says the school can't give directly to the community. So now we need a third party to come in and pick up that food and bring it to someone else to deliver. And there has to be documentation and all these things. So we're working on planning that out. There's some amazing programs in other areas that are taking kind of like, the ugly fruits or the produce people didn't want to cook with or don't know what to do with and making amazing things and serving the community. So we're looking at lots of different ways to do that. There's some like basically a food truck business where they can come and pick up the hot food, put it into small like to-go containers, and then go feed the homeless with that. Like there's a lot of different ways. We've been talking a lot with the new Share Center in the city of Salinas because they do have a new commercial kitchen that's being run by Mission Outreach that potentially we can work with them in doing some like repackaging or serving bulk. And we're working with, I'm not even sure who is running it, but there's a family resource center next to a school in Salinas that it had been doing some meals. So we're going to try to figure out if we can get school leftover food there to distribute. So there's lots of these little pieces we're trying to figure out. We know that the main Monterey County Food Bank does an amazing job with their focus, and they're the one that have all the data on the number of people they feed and bags they give out. But that's just the bigger side. On the Big Sur thing, I don't really know what that's about. I'm not sure, but I did send an email to you and to Liz Hall, who is the local waste management outreach coordinator, and she is going to be hiring more staff right now. Her previous boss left, and now she's doing like 4 hats worth of work. So we'll get her in the mix. A lot of times when people call waste management, they talk to somebody in Fresno or at a call somewhere, and they don't really know, but she is the person that will help figure this out. I know that it's really complicated with long distance and places that are, have different weird driveways and different things. So I'm not sure what happened with those cards, but yes, anybody that is in their service area and can get organic service should have it, and that should be reinstated. So there's no difference in the Big Sur green waste carts as there are in the city of Marina or elsewhere.
Yeah, we have a way of getting them down to the highway, those of us who live, in the mountains. So we do have places to pick up. A few, not many, not enough, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. And but so as far as you're not
the
sure
county
about
is required. Oh, in terms of training. So basically Salinas Valley Recycles and Monterey Regional Waste Management District have been coordinating with all the haulers to make sure the program's clean and clear. We all decided we're not going to do major outreach until starting April, because we knew that a lot of these things were going to come up and we're going to figure some stuff out. For instance, at the beginning, the district was thinking like, oh, well, if somebody really wants a bag, maybe we'll let them use compostable bags. But we felt that was a really confusing message, because we're basically telling people, sure, go use a bag. These are twice as expensive as a plastic bag. You think you're giving yourself a pat on the back for using a compostable bag, but when it gets to our facility, we're going to cut it open and take it out anyway and throw it away. So we don't want to like get that message out there, and we don't want to just add more work for ourselves. So as that messaging was going out, that they were like, well, if you really have to, but then people were really confused. So now we're going back to nobody gets a bag. If you don't want to compost your food scraps, that's kind of, you know, we're going to kind of do the best we can. It is very unlikely you're going to get contamination charges if you are not putting food scraps in your green bin. You will get contamination charges if you're putting in plastics and things that are not that. The new law does allow for contamination charges if you're putting things in the trash that could go in the recycling or the compost, but I don't see any hauler or any jurisdiction directing the haulers to do that, because that's not the goal. Our goal is clean. Whatever we get, if it's clean, it's better than anything contaminated. So if somebody's going to contaminate,
excuse me, we would like to have our containers back.
Oh, yes,
so we
absolutely.
can start using them. Unless we,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we need those.
I know,
They're getting taken away, so we don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't either. And so you'll see, I added you on an email, and hopefully
Anna's on it.
yeah, hopefully you can get that back
Thank
soon,
you.
because
Thank you.
that doesn't make any sense. So on the training, you will be seeing, it's mostly in April or the end of this month, that some of the newsletters will be coming out from all the haulers. So you'll see something from Green Waste and Monterey Disposal and Republic that has some of their information. And then all of our advertising will be going out. That's kind of regional wide. And we don't have any plans for any like community style training. But if there's something that you can think of that would be really helpful, or questions that are not answered on our website, I'd love to hear that, because we can add. Like, one of the main questions we get is, well, I don't want a kitchen pail, or I don't want, you know, that big thing sitting on my counter. So we, our website, we added a whole picture list of what other people do. So how do you collect your food scraps in the kitchen? I don't personally like it on my counter, so I got one of these inserts that I use, so it's all in my trash together. Some people like a bowl in their sink, some people don't. So those are the kind of things I want to be really clear with people. Also, there's a lot of talk about, well, I want to use a bag because I don't want it to smell, or I don't want my cart to be dirty. Personally, I don't care that the bottom of my green cart is dirty. It's got a nice thick crust of coffee grinds in it at the moment, and it's just a little funky, and it's my trash container. I don't care. So, but for those that are, you can put baking soda on the top of it. You can keep a 5-gallon bucket next to it, fill that 5-gallon bucket through the week with a nice sealed lid. That way, the day you go to put out your cart, you can dump that bucket in, and then it doesn't sit in your cart all week long. And also, it can potentially, if you do have raccoons in your area, to keep that out. So there's lots of little different tips on there, and if you are in our area, you can figure out where to pick up a bin. All right, Robin, I see you have a hand up.
Yeah, do you have representatives in the cities that you service that you're working closely with? Like, who would you be working closely with in the city of Salinas, for instance? So when we start doing some trainings, we have someone to coordinate with where we live.
Yeah, so the city of Salinas, really, it's Adam is the new manager there. Liliana is still helping a little bit, but it's mostly us and Republic Services that will do that that coordination and presentation, and we are happy to go to Rotaries. Sarah is our primary point of contact for Salinas. She's our new recycling technician, and has already done several different Rotary presentations. We're happy to come out to a community meeting or something like that. The one big thing that we're not exactly sure how we're going to tackle yet is the multifamily housing, because multifamily, first, the service has to be set up. So when you're a resident, you get your green card included in your service. So it's a package deal. Whereas in multifamily, you have to pay extra for organics. And so then you need to have somebody come and figure that all out. And then contamination is a big problem in multifamily. We know that because the recycling is very contaminated. So finding that balance and figuring out how it's going to be maintained in multifamily is a big lift. And so that's actually one of the things we're really excited that Lori's going to help with.
Which is why I raised my hand. And so as you can see, this is huge. It's hugely important. I loved your slide, Jen, of the hottest years and stuff. That was awesome. I would like to borrow that. And listening to Jana and Zoe and learning more about this SB 1383 that is required by everybody, it was like I just had an epiphany, because it's like should be the top of our list, and it's also a gift to us, because unlike the fracking ban ordinance that we got passed and the public water, they're both caught up in courts, and this is given to us as a gift from our state legislators, that we've already identified the most important thing we can do for climate change, and everybody has to do it. It's a law. So, but as you can see, Jana, they can't do this outreach on their own, and she said she was following the principles of this social marketing, community-based social marketing. And the key principles are there is you have to have personal contact, feet on the street. I mean, all these aspects that only a local community organization can do. And so I've spoken with some of you about how we want to, and Susan Myers is helping with this, how we can kind of launch, organize a community-based program to be an extension of waste management, to be the experts on this and meet people where they are in our communities and groups. And so we're embarking on that program. We have the components, and we're going to be starting a pilot with Seaside, this Ocean Defenders, and they're going to be, because we need to start, that's one of the principles, to start with a pilot. And there's going to be 4 training sessions for this program. The first training session is really on this whole methodology. It's behavioral change, and what does it take? And there are a lot of concepts about that, and I'm going to be putting that together. Actually, I sent out to a lot of you the first pages of this, which is all the concepts. It's like a crash course on CBSM, which Jana went through 4 days of workshop. We're trying to putting it into some pages and then just change management. So that's the first methodology. But then the other 3 trainings are going to be do a tour, and as you could learn, it's just all depends on where you are and what you can put and where, and it's you have to be a wasteologist to understand. And so Waste Management has agreed to give us a really in-depth training session on the compost streams, what's accepted and what's not, and then the recyclable streams, because once you look at this waste, you have to look at it all. And then the third one will be just what's missing, on the information and the help. So yeah, that's what we're doing, and I'm proposing that we even focus possibly our strategic planning retreat on rolling this out, because it affects us all. It's very important. And the whatever initiative and focus areas, could be more than one, that we decide to focus on a strategic planning session, we're going to be using this methodology of all right, how are you going to measure this? How are you going to communicate this? How are you going to have the visible commitment and things like that? So that's what we're working on. And I have to put together we have a Plastic Pollution Coalition list of people who wants to be informed and involved. And if if you're not on that list, let me know and I'll make sure that I keep you apprised of our progress on this program.
Any other questions for Jana?
Susan has a
Susan.
I just really wanted to thank Jana. Jana, this was super informative. I really appreciate it. There's so many great efforts that you guys are working through all the problems, and it seems like there's great momentum, and your presentation was wonderful.
It was amazing.
I want to especially express that because I know I'd approached Zoe Schotz even before the end of last year, and she said, you know, it's just too soon. We don't really have all the messaging together. But what I wanted it to be two-way, and I'm so grateful that Jana took the time to be with us this morning so she could see what our organization actually is and how one of our challenges, but also one of our great strengths as we are on the street. We are not centralized. We are not operating out of Monterey. We're not operating out of Salinas. I regret that we don't have more presence in South County. But because we have that contact with our communities, down to the neighborhood level, hopefully, as we get trained on these tactics to be effective in messaging and in getting people to change their behavior, that we will be an effective organization to help them get people on board with this. Because it's not a choice; it's a law. We don't have to lobby the legislature to pass this for us. It's already passed. It's on the books. Done. Now,
I love that you guys see it as a gift. That is not every meeting we have this is a gift to us.
Yeah, I'm sure you get some pushback.
And just some of you are getting into the regenerative ag and all of that work. One of our biggest problems that we see is the procurement of all of this compost. And once it's made, we have to resell it. So we have been working with a soil footprint. Soil zero footprint. I don't know. I could find the link, but they gave us an amazing presentation that also they looked at the micronutrients in vegetables grown in conventional fertilizers versus regenerative soils, and just the nutrients in the food itself was extremely different. And like oh, that makes sense. But then seeing the data was really impressive. Whoa. But if you see farmers, or if you're out in the community and you know people that want to do some of this work, they're working on a compost connector program. So somebody could go in and fill out a little form and say, I have 2 acres and I need this much compost, and I could pick it up, or I would need it delivered, or this and that. And then the cities can go in and say, we have 500 tons, we need to get it out. So then they can start connecting those dots and getting it out into the community. So we're working on things like that. And then also, I know Letty's well familiar with all of our projects, but some of you may know Estela Gutierrez, who is our master composter, worm lady extraordinaire. She has bold visions for this 2.5 acre garden down in Gonzales. Since we'll be closing Sun Street, we want to have a better facility down there. So talking about seed bombs and all these things, my head is spinning. So if you have good ideas for locations to get bulk seed and do things like that, we want our garden to kind of look like behind Matt's head in that beautiful picture with all the lupin on native flowers and everything around. So please reach out and let us know if you want to help.
Additional questions for our guest? And I'll even broaden it to any comments that have gone by you or answers that have gone by you from anybody. If you want to repeat it now. And then I want to reiterate that we're going to have Matt transfer the recordings of the entire 2-hour meeting onto YouTube, and also just an encapsulated presentation tape of just Janet's presentation, so that if people say, I really sorry I missed that presentation, can I still see it? We can have that without them necessarily needing to listen to the whole meeting. So look for that. If it's not sent out by Matt, I'll make sure that I send it out to you all.
Awesome. And for those of you in the districts area, Kristen O'Hara is the new education and outreach coordinator over there. I think probably when you reached out to Zoe previously, she was still wearing all the hats.
Right.
So now they have some new help, and she is willing and happy. I asked her about this, but she was out of town today. So she is willing and happy to come and give presentations as well.
Robin, you have a question?
Yeah. Are you partnering with Blue Zones, Jana?
Yes. I know we've talked to Blue Zones. They have different areas as well. And I know that Mandy was just down in King City. They're doing some food recovery programs in King City. So we're working with them on figuring that out. I know they do cleanups all the time. We also, Kristen and I are part of the Monterey County Illegal Dumping Litter Abatement Task Force. And so all of these entities just seem to keep merging together. So yes, we are.
Yeah, and I know I attended a food recovery workshop, and Blue Zones brought this this platform called Means. Have you seen that? It's called Matching Excess and Needs. It's really, really cool where when any food provider or in those tier 1 and tier 2 that has excess would post it on a platform, and all the people who would be like Alan friends that would be, you know, recipients, they would be checking it. There'd be an email sent, you know, text saying this is what I have available, the pounds, and they'd claim it. And so it's just like an exchange for edible food. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, so part of our big project, we should get this grant. It's not a competitive grant. It's just all of the cities can get a little bit of money, but we asked for the maximum amount of money. And if we're able to get that part of that program, funds would be to identify and purchase the best platform out there. There's Means, there's Carrot, there's there's several different entities popping up because this is a state funded mandate or state required mandate, and everybody is scrambling to figure it out. So we're going to do a little bit of research and figuring out which the best one is, but Blue Zones is on that project, which is great. All the community partners we can.
Laverne, you had an additional question?
Yeah, I have an additional question. Jana, I'm interested in videos that you might have for kids on, you know, disposing and waste, you know, where things go and what people can do to recycle, what they can do, because they can educate their parents also. So if you have some that I could have access to or link, I would love that.
Yes, we have so many. So one of our best kid videos, we have a full tour of our landfill done by a 5th grader with our mascot Wally Waste-Not. So that is the best one. We also have a whole distance learning section with like little snippets. Those aren't necessarily as much fun, but we do have all of the food waste things for what kids do at school and getting the schools trained up and ready to go. My computer is slow. And then we have some links for the entities that we provide them to come out to school. So Eco Hero is amazing. He does a little like DJ. He's a rap star. Does some fun stuff. And then also there's if you're working with schools, there's also the recycling wizard who comes out and does juggling and fancy acts. So I put our school teacher resources on there, and then also I'll link to our YouTube video that has some other stuff as well.
Okay, and you have the one that you said that was the best one. You put the link out there too?
To the tour, yeah. So there's, if you go to the tours, there's the kids tour. Okay,
I'll look in the chat. All right, thank you.
Jana, are you still doing tours of the landfill?
We are. Thankfully, it's outside, so we feel pretty good about that. We just need a little bit of notice, and depending on who's coming, you know, who you would like to have show up. If you want, you know, Letty usually gets the pro treatment because Patrick loves giving tours. So our general manager will come out to the team and do that, but we also, our staff can go out and give you a tour.
Yeah, I did it a few years ago, and it's really, really informative. I had a great time, and To see this place in person, the scope and the size of it is just, you can't imagine.
Yeah,
It's
and Robin,
huge.
you should check out, we have a full, we have the full landfill tour, but also the little clips of each little section on our website as well. So there's a 15-minute tour from Patrick, and it does go over all the different services we have. So if you've never been out to our landfill, I definitely recommend it, and kind of get a feel for what we got going on.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to take a tour. It's really amazing. Thank you, Jana.
Lori?
Yeah, yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. The more you get into this, the more you learn. I mean, it really makes you realize that it's a zero-sum game. I mean, you can't put this in the compost, you can't put this in recyclable, so there's all the trash. And so I think the challenge for us is just reducing it, and and moving towards zero waste, not just, okay, you can recycle, this recycle. It's just reducing and refusing stuff that has to be thrown away. There is no such place as a way, and that's what you learn in all these things. And I think the behavior change for us, it's just not where to dispose of, but just how to keep from getting it to, so you have to dispose it. So I think that's what this program really needs to focus on. The behavior change is just reduction and doing with it. So anyway, and only we can really do that. You can tell us where to go, but then you get the bad feeling. And so, like we talked about, there's no wish cycling. Somebody said, what's wish cycling? Oh, I hope it gets recycled. I hope it gets composted. And the more you learn, it's sobering. And that's where we have to be there as a coach to help them say, yeah, it doesn't feel good. And
yeah. And I think a lot of that, unfortunately, comes from the fact that for years we told everybody, it's okay, you recycle it, give yourself a big pat on the back, you did a great job, but then only to find out half of the waste was getting shipped to other countries and maybe not done the best possible way.
And then now they say, oh, but it's compostable, but it's biodegradable.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's not,
same
and so
type thing that we
have to move to the reusables and reduction. So that's kind of the moral of the whole story that we're gonna end up with. It's a challenge. So
well
thank you all. This was fun.
Oh, I'm so glad you were able to stay to the end. I know you have other commitments today. So
the game got rained out. So
no
well today. So we get to
good fortune all the way around for both the ground and for us.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all. I know some people have already had to sign off, and I do want to end on time. Once again, I know that it's really, especially for board members who just went to another meeting last Saturday, that it's a kind of a heavy lift to make a commitment on Saturday morning to give up a couple of hours. But I'm always confirmed that it's a worthwhile use of time, and I don't know any other way that all of the organizations, all the legs can possibly exchange this volume of information, and especially when we have such a terrific guest speaker, get informed directly than doing this. Can we do it live again? Well, we'll see if the virus lets us do that. Stay tuned. I'm thinking maybe after our strategic retreat in June, we can maybe be emboldened to do an in-person event maybe in July. So we'll get that information out to you in a timely fashion, I hope, this time. And thank you again, every single person.
Thank you. Thank you, Jana.
Look for the link.
Okay, bye.
Bye.